Back in the late 1800s, a rough gang of criminals rolled into a quiet little place called Sweetwater. Their leader was a tough guy named Blackjack Britton, and always by his side was his right-hand man, Caven Guthrie. Tagging along with them was Caven's teenage nephew, Sonny Dillard, the newest and youngest member of the crew. Trying to show off, Sonny started doing trick shots with his pistol in front of some kids, thinking it made him look cool. But Blackjack wasn't impressed. He wasn't sure the kid had what it took to hang with real outlaws. Caven told Sonny to quit acting like a clown and take things seriously. Soon after, Blackjack told the crew to gear up. They were going to hit the local bank. When the time came, the gang stormed inside while Sonny stayed out front to keep watch. Inside the bank, Blackjack got aggressive quick. He demanded the banker open the safe, but the guy claimed he didn't know the combo. Without hesitation, Blackjack shot off one of the man's fingers to make him talk. While all that chaos was going down, Sonny spotted a woman nearby, Dolly Sloan, a prostitute he recognized from one of the cheap Western novels he read all the time. Starstruck, he walked over, showed her the book, and even asked for an autograph. But the moment was cut short. The cavalry rolled in. One of the gang members sounded the alarm, and Blackjack ordered everyone to grab what they could and run. As the gang scrambled, a customer tried to pull a gun, and Blackjack shot him dead, kicking off a full-on shootout with the cavalry. Bullets were flying everywhere. In the middle of it, Dolly was hit. Sonny rushed to her, but she died in his arms. Devastated, he joined the others as they made their getaway. Along the way, Sonny helped Badger, Blackjack's brother, who'd been shot. Even though he was bleeding bad, Badger insisted he could keep going. Later, Blackjack realized the cavalry was hot on their trail, so he made everyone ride through the night. By morning, Badger couldn't take it anymore. He collapsed, fell off his horse, and begged Sonny to end his suffering. Though Sonny had never killed before, he hesitantly did what Badger asked. Just then, shots rang out from the cliffs. Sonny got hit in the leg, and the chase was back on. The gang scattered, trying to escape. During the shootout, their horse carrying all the stolen money got shot. Blackjack tried to grab the cash, but Caven stopped him, saying it wasn't worth dying over. They left the loot behind and kept running until eventually the cavalry gave up the chase. They got lucky and found cover in a sandstorm, then stumbled across a tunnel that led to a lush green valley. There, they came across a Native American near a foggy path that led into a strange little town called Refuge. As they rode into Refuge, the locals gave them some cautious glances. The sheriff greeted them politely, and Blackjack lied, saying they were cattle wranglers who got jumped by Apaches. The sheriff bought it, offered medical help, drinks at the saloon, and a place to crash. When Blackjack asked to use the telegraph, the sheriff said the town didn't have one. No contact with the outside world at all. A bit odd, but the gang went with it. At the saloon, Blackjack started getting weird vibes. The sheriff looked familiar, and nobody in town seemed to be carrying guns. Meanwhile, Rose, a local woman, took Sonny and the other wounded to see the town doctor. While getting patched up, Sonny also felt like he knew the doctor from somewhere but couldn't quite figure it out. Later, the doctor met with the sheriff and some other locals in private. He showed them bullets he removed from the gang members and mentioned how it didn't look like native ammo. The sheriff agreed something seemed fishy, but hoped the gang would just move on peacefully. The deputy, on the other hand, wanted to throw them out, but the rest decided it wasn't worth a fight. Back at the saloon, Blackjack introduced himself to the doctor, called himself Jack Smith, and offered him a drink. The doc turned it down, saying he didn't drink anymore. That only added to Blackjack's unease. Something about the man felt way too familiar. That night, the church bells rang, and everyone in town headed to the chapel. After the service, Sonny nervously confessed to Rose that he liked her. Before she could respond, a drunk Caven barged in and demanded Sonny drag her to the saloon, calling her a prostitute. Sonny stood up to him, but got knocked down. Caven tried to grab Rose, but the sheriff stepped in. When Caven went for his gun, Sonny stopped him with a punch. Sonny asked the sheriff if they should lock Caven up, but the sheriff said Refuge didn't even have a jail. Later, Blackjack asked Sonny what happened, and Sonny lied, saying Caven passed out from too much booze. The next morning, the sheriff sent a message asking to talk to Blackjack. Afterward, Sonny flipped through one of his dime novels and suddenly realized the sheriff looked just like Wild Bill Hickok, the famous gunslinger who'd been killed years earlier. When Blackjack met the sheriff, the man offered him coffee and brought up Caven's behavior. Blackjack grew suspicious and asked to knock Caven out, but the sheriff claimed he didn't see anything. Then Blackjack asked why he didn't carry a gun. The sheriff just smiled and said, "We've never needed one." Meanwhile, Caven and Sonny went to the general store. Sonny couldn't stop staring at the store owner. He looked just like Jesse James, the outlaw who'd been killed by his own gang. The man brushed it off when Sonny asked, but Caven took the chance to quietly steal some bullets. He went back to the saloon and handed out ammo to the rest of the crew. Done pretending, Blackjack told his men to start causing chaos. They began racing horses through the streets, shooting in the air, and even throwing knives at the church doors, ready to stir up as much trouble as they could. While the gang kept raising hell in town, the sheriff quietly walked up to Blackjack and asked him to calm his boys down. But Blackjack brushed him off like he didn't care. So, the sheriff made his way to the front of the church and, in the calmest tone, asked them to quit throwing knives around. Of course, they didn't listen. A couple of blades landed near his face, and he didn't even blink. One of the gang members then deliberately tried to hit him. But before the knife could land, a lightning bolt came out of nowhere and fried the guy on the spot. The rain started pouring, and just like that, the gang froze in shock. The mysterious native man from the valley came silently, picked up the body, and left. Later that night, Sonny dozed off outside the church, waiting for Rose. He suddenly woke up to the sound of a stagecoach rolling into town. All the townsfolk gathered to greet whoever was arriving. To Sonny's complete disbelief, the passenger was Dolly, the woman who had died in his arms earlier. Now, she was alive and smiling. The driver handed the sheriff a white flower and told him he'd be leaving on Sunday at noon. Sonny ran after the coach, but it disappeared like smoke. The next morning, Sonny saw Dolly walking around with the sheriff. He rushed up to her, stunned, and asked how she was alive. But she looked confused and said she wasn't Dolly. Her name was Ivy. Trying to make sense of what was going on, Sonny later followed the town doctor, pretending he had a weapon. The doc reacted fast, even without a gun, which surprised Sonny. He accused the man of being Doc Holliday, the infamous gunman who supposedly died in 1887. The doctor didn't argue, just denied it calmly. That's when it all clicked for Sonny. The sheriff was Wild Bill Hickok. The deputy was Billy the Kid. The store owner? Jesse James. And the farmer? Lefty Slade. Legends who were long believed to be dead. But when Sonny was asked who Rose really was, he had no clue. He then asked why these famous outlaws were letting Blackjack and his crew walk all over the town. And in doing so, he accidentally said Blackjack's real name, which sparked a memory for the doctor. He remembered Blackjack as a notorious train robber. Later, Sonny approached the farmer and bluntly asked if he really was Lefty Slade. The man denied it, but Sonny grabbed his wrist and showed the scar that confirmed it. Lefty finally gave in. But before they could talk more, two of Blackjack's goons showed up and trashed Lefty's garden. They opened fire, but Lefty defended himself with a shovel, taking one of them out. Afterward, he broke down in tears, feeling like his years trying to live right in this town were wasted. The other farmers watched as the silent gatekeeper appeared. Lefty walked toward him, and they disappeared into the mist together. Back in town, Blackjack's men were still making a mess. This time, the sheriff had had enough. He walked up to Blackjack, called him by his real name, and told the gang to leave. Blackjack, furious, tried to hit him with his pistol, but the blow never landed. He went to pull the trigger, but suddenly the earth shook violently. Spooked, he backed off and ran into the saloon with his men. Caven blocked Sonny from going in, but Sonny snuck through the back door and overheard everything. The gang planned to destroy the town and kill anyone who resisted. Caven even talked about what he wanted to do to Rose. It was sickening. Terrified, Sonny ran to find her and eventually saw her swimming by the lake. When she got dressed, he noticed a scar on her neck. She finally told him the truth. Her real name was Betty McCullum. She was the first woman ever hanged in Arizona for killing her abusive father. She admitted she had feelings for Sonny, but said they couldn't be together. That's when it hit him. Refuge was a kind of afterlife for people trying to redeem themselves. A final stop before judgment. Sonny told Betty what Blackjack planned to do, and that night, he went to the church and begged the townsfolk to fight back. That's when they admitted the truth. Refuge was like a test, a purgatory. If they lived 10 years without falling back into their old ways, they'd earn a place in heaven. But if they chose violence again, they'd risk everything. They were too scared to lose their second chance. Frustrated, Sonny stormed out. But before he could make it far, Blackjack and Caven jumped him. They beat him until he blacked out. When he came to, he thought maybe he was dead and kind of hoped so, just to be with Betty. But once he cleared his head, he realized he had to protect the people, even if it meant standing alone. At sunrise, bruised and broken, Sonny strapped on his guns for a final showdown. As the church bells rang, most people stayed inside. But then, four figures stepped forward. Wild Bill, Doc Holliday, Jesse James, and Billy the Kid. Moved by Sonny's bravery, they joined him. A massive gunfight followed, and one by one, Blackjack's gang went down. Caven shot Sonny, but Sonny fired back and killed him. Even after being shot, Sonny didn't feel pain. He didn't die. Hickok walked over and told him he'd earned his place in Refuge. He belonged there now. Then Blackjack showed up for a final duel. But this time he was outmatched. As he realized where he was and what it all meant, he quietly said, "Guess I'm one of you now." Hickok stared him down and replied coldly, "I wouldn't count on it," before taking him out. Afterward, the gatekeeper appeared again, picked up the bodies of Blackjack and Caven, and took them through the mist, this time into a fiery pit. He dropped them into the lava below with no emotion. Their screams echoed and faded. As the town watched, a stagecoach showed up once more. The driver explained that because Hickok and the others were willing to give up their own salvation to save others, they'd earned a spot in heaven. "The big guy might be tough," he said, "but he ain't blind." As they got ready to board, Sonny told them he wanted to stay behind with Betty. Hickok gave him a knowing nod and handed him the sheriff's badge. Then the stagecoach rose into the light and disappeared.